students at home and abroad, and residents here who are tuning to this most popular program, Leadership Matters, which is an interactive forum which allows us to hear from you. And we certainly value the input, hearing the concerns, hearing the ideas and suggestions of the members of the community, the well-wishers of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, I spoke at a press conference, and so tonight I won't tarry long, about the careful and phased approach of the government to the reopening of the society, the reopening of the economy, and how we are doing it in ways that would minimize harm to our people, because, of course, health is the number one priority. And tonight, some of the focus will be on education. Mr. Hodge, our experienced permanent educator, now permanent secretary in the Ministry of Education, has outlined the path in which we are embarked to the phased, careful opening up of the education sector. We have started with the early childhood subsector of the education platform, if you will, and that sector has just under 3,000 students across public and private sector. So that is a substantial start, and that so far has been going well. Our attention in government has now been turned to the other elements of the education sector, our primary education, our secondary education, and of course our CFBC College, and beyond that, community-based institutions of learning. And the central principle remain, how do we purvey a quality of education while at the same time keep the participants safe? Education, of course, is critical, and it stands in a good way in the context of the commitment we have made to the country as a whole to deliver a stronger and safer future. The stronger and safer future need people to be healthy and productive. And critical to the mission of an education system must be delivery of persons who can contribute responsibly and productively to nation building. And that is a critical task which our education sector faces and which it must deliver. Across the early childhood, primary, secondary, and CFBC College, we would have somewhere in the region of 12,000 plus persons. This is substantial. St. Kitts and Nevis is a country that is young at heart, young in age, in that about 65% of the population is 35 and under, which means that we have to harness the talents, the gifts of all these young people and put them to work to ensure that at the critical stages, when we require them for service, we have graduates who are responsible and who certainly can contribute productively. Our organization and reopening of the education sector, for me, is a big test of our systems, a big test of our ability to deal with large crowds, because we're talking about 12,000 persons participating in settings, educational settings. If we can do this successfully, then I believe we would reach a substantial way in our ability to treat and to deal with the tourists who will come when we finally reopen all sectors of our country. So this is a big test, and I feel satisfied that we have the competent and experienced hands of Mr. Hodge, a long-standing educator known for his discipline, his focus, his vision, his empathy for students. We have him as our permanent secretary, the most important functionary in the administration of education. And I know that he will provide good advice, sound reasoning to the new energetic Minister of Education, the Honorable John L. Powell. Of course, we will continue to work in an all-of-society approach, and that is why it's important, even as we go about introducing new measures, reforms of the education sector and other sectors of the economy, we are bringing all critical stakeholders on board. In this regard, I want to encourage and invite all parents and guardians, all significant adults in the lives of our children, particularly those who are entering or participating in the early childhood subsector, our primary schools and our secondary schools. We want them to become conscious and more involved. There is an interesting piece of research conducted some time back by the OECS, the OECS Reform Unit, and that research revealed that across the region, a survey conducted revealed that parent was the most critical factor driving the performance of students, not teachers. Parents are the most significant factor driving the quality of participation of students. This means that the more involved parents become, the more involved significant adults in the lives of children become, then it is more likely that students will do well in school. Teachers were the second most important factor impacting upon children's experience in the classroom. So as the education sector goes about doing the consultation, inviting the PTAs and the different groups to come have their say, we are welcoming them to participate. Parents and adults, of course, can contribute tremendously by first advising themselves of what are the new imperatives. Secondly, encouraging their students to comply with them and to give the incentives that would help the students to adapt quickly to the new environment. I would therefore want to wish that we have a very successful new academic term, and that the experiences of our children, the experiences of our teachers, the experiences of our education, leadership in education, would be very positive. COVID-19 remains a significant challenge, and today I outline statistics everywhere where when persons become complacent, again there is a resurgence of the virus. The coronavirus is a disease, and we want to minimize our people being affected and infected by it. In this regard, the prescriptions that our health planners are giving, the advice from our task force at the National Emergency Operations Center, compliance with these would be critical to the success of what we are attempting to do. Again, the future, in my view, still remains bright. St. Kitts and Nevis remains one of the best examples of a small island state that is successfully managed, and not only in terms of our own impressive economic data and fiscal performance over the last 5 years, but certainly we have led the way in terms of our management of the COVID-19. We have an R factor, a reproductive factor of 0.3, which I am advised is an excellent number for a small island state. We want in all we do, and I've advised the Cabinet, and the Cabinet is of a similar view, that we will minimize our people to the smallest possible risk. And that is why we continue to urge our people to be cautious, to be careful, live life, but live it carefully and responsibly. Again, tonight we have an opportunity to speak not only on matters relating to the education sector, but on any matter which was raised today at the press conference for which there needs clarification, elucidation, any further information. You are free to call. Whatever your concern is, we are prepared to take questions, to provide answers if they are readily available to us tonight, and to promise you, if we don't have it tonight, we will get it to you at the next sitting or at the next available opportunity. So thanks again very much for tuning in. Thank you for being an active participant in this important forum of public accountability as we attempt to bring you information that will help you to make the best interests for yourselves, for your families, for your communities, and most importantly, for our beloved country.